What's going on, guys? Jerry Neutron here, and today we're going to take a look at a pretty popular case. This is the Enthoo Pro, a full tower case by Phanteks, which is said to provide a serious bang for your buck when it comes to features and functionality. So let's take a look at it and see if it lives up to the hype. Starting with the front of the case, the first thing you'll notice is the faux brushed aluminum finish. This gives the case a premium look while helping keep the cost down. It also is a little less fingerprint prone than actual aluminum. At the top, there's a front I/O with 4 USB ports, headphone and microphone jacks, and a reset button. I'm really happy that Phanteks included 4 USB ports up front, and I wish that all case manufacturers would follow suit regardless of case size, because for me, 2 is simply not enough. They've also not forgotten about those workstation users and included 3 5¼ bays up front. There's also plenty of airflow to the front of the case thanks to the large mesh grill area and the included 200mm fan underneath. And thankfully, Phanteks includes a removable dust filter for this area as well, but I'd love to see a revision where the front cover does not have to be removed in order to get access to the filter. And just underneath this is also a conveniently removable dust filter for bottom-mounted intake fans. The 2 steel side panels are held on by thumb screws, which makes accessing the internals relatively easy. And the tinted split window design on the left panel should please most users, as it allows you access to your system without having to disassemble the case. At the rear of the case, you can see the bottom-mounted power supply, which also features a removable dust filter underneath it. There's 8 PCI slots to allow for multi-GPU setups or other expansion cards, and a rear I/O for your motherboard at the top. The top cover features a large mesh grill to allow for plenty of airflow in or out, so that should never be an issue with a case like this. There's also a power button and hard drive LED positioned just in front of that. Now, I'm sure most people would agree that the best part of this case is actually the internals. This case allows for motherboards up to an eATX size with large, nicely positioned rubber grommets all around. It includes a 140mm exhaust fan in the rear, which can be repositioned to accommodate top-mounted radiators or fans. You can install graphics cards up to 13.5 inches with the drive cages installed, which is great if you want to install large, powerful cards without sacrificing storage. And one thing you don't see too often is this PSU cover, which is optional, but if installed, nicely hides your cables, which really cleans up your builds, even if you don't have a modular power supply. As mentioned previously, there are 3 5¼ bays with toolless installation, and one cool thing about this case is it actually comes with a reservoir mount for water cooling, which you can attach to the side of the hard drive cages. And speaking of water cooling, this thing is a water cooling powerhouse. You can mount up to a 420mm radiator at the top of the case, up to a 240mm up front, up to a 240mm radiator at the bottom, and up to a 140mm at the rear. That is exactly what I would expect from a full tower case, and nicely played by Phanteks there. If you're into air cooling, you can run 2 140 or a single 200mm fan in the front, up to 3 140 or a single 200mm fan up top, up to a 140mm fan in the rear, and a 140 or 2 120mm fans on the bottom. And not only that, but you can also run 2 120mm fans in place of the reservoir mount. Oh, and it fits CPU coolers up to 7.5 inches or 193mm. So yeah, plenty of cooling options with this case. Now, if we remove the other side panel, that'll give you access to the 2 modular drive cages. You can install up to 6 drives here, either 3.5 or 2.5 inches. The 3.5-inch drives install pretty easily with this toolless design from Phanteks. There's also plenty of cable tie points, which is much appreciated, making cable management a breeze. And also plenty of room to tuck those cables between the motherboard tray and side panel. And one thing I like about this case is the ability to mount your SSDs behind the motherboard tray to keep them out of sight, and the Enthoo Pro has 2 mounting locations for this. Unfortunately, they only include 1 SSD bracket. I know this is a budget-oriented case, but I'd really love for them to throw in that second bracket on the house. Aside from that, Phanteks includes a fan hub, which allows you to route up to 6 3-pin fans to a single location to help with cable management, and due to requiring a spare PWM header to control any connected fans, your experience with this hub may vary depending on your motherboard. Despite that, this case was a breeze to build in. Phanteks provides plenty of documentation and hardware for your build. Everything is nicely placed and looks great behind that tinted side window. For the price, there's not much to complain about from a functionality standpoint. Really, there's only 2 things I'd like to see in the future. 1, a revised access point for the dust filter up front, and 2, an included secondary SSD bracket. Maybe some simplified or revised instructions for the fan hub, but that part could just be on me. So that's about it, guys. I would definitely have no issues recommending this case to anyone, especially if they are water cooling. But be sure to let me know what you think about this case down in the comments below. Do you dig the white version? Also, believe it or not, this is not my favorite case in the Phanteks lineup. If you think you know what it is, comment down below. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and until next time, see ya. Got a 1080 MHz core clock, a 1250 MHz memory clock, 4 GB of VRAM with a 512-bit bus.